Hi, my name's Claire Messud, and I'm going to read an excerpt from Mary McCarthy's Memories of a Catholic Girlhood. Mary McCarthy was a patron of the American Library in Paris. I understand that she once complained that the library did not have enough copies of her books. So I trust that there's a copy of, or more than one, of Memories of a Catholic Girlhood in the library just now. As you may know, Mary McCarthy lost her parents to the influenza epidemic in 1918, and so I'm just going to read you a little bit from the beginning. Whenever we children came to stay at my grandmother's house, we were put to sleep in the sewing room, a bleak, shabby, utilitarian rectangle, more office than bedroom, more attic than office, that played to the hierarchy of chambers the role of a poor relation. It was a room seldom entered by the other members of the family, seldom swept by the maid, a room without pride. The old sewing machine, some cast-off chairs, a shadeless lamp, rolls of wrapping paper, piles of cardboard boxes that might someday come in handy, papers of pins and remnants of material united with the iron folding cots put out for our use, and the bare floorboards, to give an impression of intense and ruthless temporality. Thin white spreads of the kind used in hospitals and charity institutions, and naked blinds at the window, reminded us of our orphaned condition and of the ephemeral character of our visit. There was nothing here to encourage us to consider this our home. Poor Roy's children, as commiseration damply styled us, could not afford illusions in the family opinion. Our father had put us beyond the pale by dying suddenly of influenza and taking our young mother with him, a defection that was remarked on with horror and grief commingled, as though our mother had been a pretty secretary with whom he had wantonly absconded into the irresponsible paradise of the hereafter. Our reputation was clouded by this misfortune. There was a prevailing sense, not only in the family, but among storekeepers, servants, streetcar conductors, and other satellites of our circle, that my grandfather, a rich man, had behaved with extraordinary munificence in allotting a sum of money for our support and installing us with some disagreeable middle-aged relations in a dingy house 2 blocks distant from his own. What alternative he had was not mentioned. Presumably he could have sent us to an orphan asylum, and no one would have thought the worse of him. At any rate, it was felt, even by those who sympathized with us, that we led a privileged existence, privileged because we had no rights, and the very fact that at the yearly Halloween or Christmas party given at the home of an uncle we appeared so dismal, ill-clad, and unhealthy, in contrast to our rosy, exquisite cousins, confirmed the judgment that had been made on us. Clearly, it was a generous impulse that kept us in the family at all. Thus, the meaner our circumstances, the greater seemed our grandfather's condescension, a view in which we ourselves shared, looking softly and shyly on this old man with his rheumatism, his pink face and white hair, set off by the rosebuds in his pierce arrow and in his buttonhole, as the font of goodness and philanthropy, and the nickel he occasionally gave us to drop into the collection plate on Sunday, 2 cents was our ordinary contribution, filled us not with envy, but with simple admiration for his potency. This indeed was princely. This was the way to give. It did not occur to us to judge him for the disparity of our styles of living. Whatever bitterness we felt was kept for our actual guardians, who, we believed, must be embezzling the money set aside for us, since the standard of comfort achieved in our grandparents' house, the electric heaters, the gas logs, the lap robes, the shawls wrapped tenderly about the old knees, the white meat of chicken and red meat of beef, the silver, the white tablecloths, the maids, and the solicitous chauffeur, persuaded us that prunes and rice pudding, peeling paint and patched clothes were hors concours with these persons, and therefore could not have been willed by them. Wealth, in our minds, was equivalent to bounty, and poverty but a sign of penuriousness of spirit. Yet even if we had been convinced of the honesty of our guardians, we would still have clung to that beneficent image of our grandfather that the family myth proposed to us. We were too poor, spiritually speaking, to question his generosity, to ask why he allowed us to live in oppressed chill and deprivation at a long arm's length from himself, and hooded his genial blue eye with a bluff, millionairish gray eyebrow whenever the evidence of our suffering presented itself at his knee. The official answer we knew. Our benefactors were too old to put up with 4 wild young children. Our grandfather was preoccupied with business matters and with his rheumatism, to which he devoted himself as though to a pious duty, taking it with him on pilgrimages to Sainte-Anne-de-Beaupré and Miami, offering it with impartial reverence to the miracle of the Northern Mother and the Southern Sun. This rheumatism hallowed my grandfather with the mark of a special vocation. He lived with it in the manner of an artist or a grizzled Galahad. It set him apart from all of us, and even from my grandmother, who, lacking such an affliction, led a relatively unjustified existence and showed in relation to us children a sharper and more bellicose spirit. She felt, in spite of everything, that she was open to criticism, and transposing this feeling with a practiced old hand, kept peering into our characters for symptoms of ingratitude.